strategy. I can't wait to see the facial expression on like each other's faces when they see like what their opponent is playing.
One of the things going back to anytime Swordsoul's been competitive is questioning whether or not they can get Barone to floor on the field, or if they're going to go into the full combo line where they get the additional draws but leave themselves weak to cards like Nibiru.
Yeah, it is always like the dynamic of the deck. I do like that it's really powerful when you do get that Chang Ying, the Sinister Sovereign one, out onto the field early. But it does look he's going to start with Ashuna, link it away into Monk of the Tinyi, then he's going to special summon Hara from the hand. This is the bread and butter Tinyi combo for the deck, because now he's going to special summon Vishuddha with the Ashuna. Now he has the level 1 tuner, and he'll be able to synchro for a level 8. So if you open up with the Tinyi strategy, you can still get access to the Swordsoul strategy. Kind of similar how the Fire King Snake Eye kind of works, where they're able to use another complementing strategy to really access the other half of your deck as well. And we do see that Chi-Chao come down.
It's really amazing how well the Tenyis lined up with the Swordsoul, because the Swordsoul monsters also generate normal tokens onto the field.
Yep, I do love that. They're like a match made in heaven. Even like when you have the token, the level 4, they have like the Shathana. If you want to summon that from your deck, so you can still go into a level 8 synchro. And it looks like Chi-Chao isn't going to add Swordsoul Blackout. He's going to go for Long Yuan here.
So the fact that he didn't search Emergence, what do you think that might mean?
One, he already has it. 2, he values it in his deck as a top deck potentially. And like there is no Arch Nemesis Protos, so it's not as like key. A lot of times in Master Duel, you'll see them going for that Emergence to go for Protos. But he is going to banish the Adhara to add back the Ashuna, so he can discard it for the Long Yuan here to get his token. Now it looks like, let's see if he's going to go for that Sinister Sovereign.
Or allowed him to play around Droll as well.
Yep, it does. But he is going to go for Baron de Fleur. Oh, he can't go for Baron de Fleur. He's worm locked. He is worm locked from that Ashuna. It has to be the Sinister Sovereign. If anyone can hear me, it has to be Sinister Sovereign. It can't be Baron de Fleur. Baron de Fleur is something you'd have to go into first. It does look like the judge did catch that here.
Yeah, that knocked me into
Yep.
It does knock me into it.
Yeah, that is one of the downsides of starting with the Tenyi package. Is it's fantastic. It links into the entire engine, but it does give you that limitation.
Okay, so he picked the Long Yuan. He didn't pick the Sinister Sovereign Long Yuan. He went with the Chang Ying.
I just locked myself into worms, and I couldn't.
Yeah, that should just be an easy minor.
Huh? No.
I'm just going to get a little warning there, like, be careful.
It's the first duel of the game.
so
It could potentially be. I'm not sure exactly which team started 2-0, but it could be potentially the first duel of the day.
And this is a cool interaction. So Chang Ying effect will activate if a card is banished. The Chi-Chao can banish a card from the graveyard, and then Chang Ying can banish a card from the opponent's graveyard and field. Non-targeting. And it also gains 100 attack and defense for every banished card. So then the opponent's monsters all lose that attack and defense as well. Or just attack, maybe.
And then the black, if I don't know if it is, but if it is blackout set, he would also be able to protect himself.
Yes, one of my favorite things about Swordsoul. I'm somewhat of a Swordsoul duelist myself. Well, I've been known to play Swordsoul in the past. It's also, there's a Master Duel starter deck or something you can get by like reaching out to more friends. You'll get like a Swordsoul starter. It's pretty cool. If you haven't checked out Master Duel, you definitely want to download that and check it out. But Renard is starting things off with a Pot of Duality.
And here we will get the reveal.
Oh, this has to be an Eaglin. Eaglin for sure off this one.
Yeah.
We do see Dimension Shifter, Eaglin. Oh, never mind, and Dimensional Fissure. He's going to go for the Dimensional Fissure. I guess after seeing like the Tenyis, I could see wanting a card that's going to keep monsters out of the graveyard.
Yeah, it's an interesting choice.
Maybe he already has Eaglin, so it's just maybe a non-choice, yeah.
Yeah, it's better to have that going first than into an established field, because a lot of the Tenyis are already in the graveyard.
Oh, it also helps around like any sort of interaction from the hand potentially that needs to go to the graveyard. I could see that.
Yeah, if he has something like Rabina in hand already, or this
map.
Yeah, he's a face-up monster negate.
So he can use the map to reveal Floowandereeze, banish Floowandereeze from his deck, and then summon.
So if he has one downside of playing Fissure early is if there was blackout set, he would have 2 targets on the field. So he could have just held the Fissure also to potentially not play into blackout. Just one thing to consider. Obviously, you can't play around everything.
Oh, yeah, but your blackout on the map here would be huge.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Do you value the risk of the blackout on the map, or do you value having Fissure up to stop cards like Effect Veiler?
Yeah, it's a tough call there, but he does have that Eaglin in hands, which is why he really didn't have to think about it too much. And the Shifter not being able to use unless he had like a Street to banish the duality. Plus, not really useful against Swordsoul, but the map will resolve the Eaglin summon to Chainlink 1, Robina Chainlink 2 to come back to the hand. Does he use the Chi-Chao here to banish or to negate the Eaglin effect?
This is what we were talking about earlier, where if there is that advent of adventure, these are those interactions that can be really frustrating.
So he's gonna.
So he's going to go Chainlink 1 Changing. Since the card was banished, he can banish the Duality and the Eaglin. Or the map.
Card in your graveyard can play at the same time.
Explaining the effect there to Renard.
I feel like you probably just go after the map because there's the follow-up on your turn, or the interaction on your turn. Not really quite follow-up, but the interaction on your turn.
Yeah, so his effect.
Yeah, and if you banish the Eaglin, it's going to banish itself by its own effect anyway and be able to return to the hand. It is one less monster on the board that they can use for a tribute, but with Robina coming, being able to search something like Stree or even Toucan,
so
he's not going to have a problem getting monsters on the field. I didn't quite see what Eaglin... Oh, he hasn't added with Eaglin. We're still resolving that Chainlink.
Well, we're actually at Chainlink 3 right now.
Chichao?
Yeah.
Chainlink 4, Chichao.
4. Remove the cost.
Going to banish that Longyuan. Let's see if there is that Advent that you've been talking about. Does he have the Advent of Adventure?
It's Chainlink 5. Honestly, because you still have a normal summon, I guess he's still going to use it.
Does have the Advent. You said, you called it. He's going to banish that Eaglin, so it won't be able to have its effect negated. So he's going to be able to add that tribute monster, the Winged Beast, to his hand. The Robina is going to add to the hand and then be able to be summoned at the resolution of Eaglin. This is pretty ideal here for Renard going into this board, but Jesus still has that face-down spell and trap.
Which I think we can presume is probably a card like Infinite Impermanence, because you want to activate the face-up negation before you use a unrevealed card that is set. Like from the perspective of Jesus, he probably wants to use the Chichao because it's face-up in public knowledge, whereas if you had Infinite Impermanence, which would have a similar underlying effect, you don't want to activate that from the set back row in the spell and trap card zone because it would reveal information that you don't necessarily need to reveal. And then, like I said earlier, Blackout probably would have been activated on the map.
Yeah, definitely. Because the map just has access to Robina right away. So it looks like, is he thinking about chaining? Or no, they're just making sure they resolve the chain backward. He's picking for chaining because the Eaglin is no longer on the field. He's going after the Dimensional Fissure and the Pot of Duality out of the graveyard. So now it looks like they're just trying to resolve the chain links. We got to see what he's going to add for Eaglin, and then the Robina will go to hand. Well, the Robina should go to hand, and then he adds for Eaglin. Oh no, he's resolving map maybe. Doesn't look like they're doing it in the proper order to me, but we can't really see off screen what's going on.
That's what happens when you have a 6-card chain link.
Yeah, didn't get to see what he added there because it was off camera.
Alter at the end of all of this, he's going to have an additional normal summon. Or
and the Robina should be in his hand. Oh, that's the Eaglin that's over there. He did add the Robina to his hand. Okay, good.
Yep.
Now he can add the Eaglin back to protect the chain links there, so it won't be able to respond to Robina's effect directly.
Which would cut off cards like Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring.
It goes for Toucan. Maybe he already has Stree, because it's cool with Stree, you can like banish your Floowandereeze spell and traps and then add them back to your hand with Toucan, and he does already have the Stree. So he's going to use Stree's effect to...
Yeah.
Does he go after a Tinyi, or does he go after his own Floowandereeze card so he can add it back with Toucan? It's up to him.
I would 100% go against the Tenyi cards, because without Dimensional Fissure on the field,
They pose a problem.
they could potentially pose a problem.
Yeah, Vishuda, great at breaking boards. Ashuna, great at summoning monsters.
It's really the Ashuna specifically because it puts another Tenyi on the field that then goes to the graveyard. And if Defissure was on the field, at least that would be somewhat mitigated, but without that on the field.
Yeah.
And then Vishuda is an important one to hit too because you want to keep your Empen safe.
Yeah, and this Chain Ying is going to be difficult for Renard to deal with because it's in defense mode, so its effect's not negated. It can protect itself by banishing a card. And it makes all of Renard's monsters much smaller, especially with all these banishes. 1, 2, 3, 4 banished. They're all losing. All his monsters are losing 400 attack and defense, and it's gaining those stats as well.
He really is going to have to rely on something like Ryza, the Mega Monarch. And
Or Unexplored Winds is another good
Unexplored
one.
Winds, yeah, that's another way. And he is resolving here Empen, so he can actually search the Unexplored Winds. And I actually thought I saw a copy of Ryza, the Mega Monarch, in his hand.
Oh, it's already in his hand. That's pretty good, but it does look like he's going for Dreaming Town to have the setup on Jesus' turn.
Yeah, it looks like right there in the middle it might be a copy of the Mega Monarch.
Yeah, give it a fit.
Oh, triple tactics thrust. That's huge. Since Jesus has monsters on the field, Renard's going to be able to add any normal spell or trap from his deck to his hand. Triple tactics talent's a really good one. But he's going, oh, that one's way worse. Harpy's Featherstorm. Renard's not focused on this turn. He's only focused on next turn.
Which is probably why he got the Dreaming Town.
Yep. He's going to make sure Jesus is not going to be able to come out of this one. But he still has to deal with that changing. But if he has that Rise of the Mega Monarch, like you mentioned, he will be able to easily deal with it. Looks like Renard keeps hearing things from his teammates, maybe.
You're losing 3.
His teammate's probably warning him to check about the attack. Be careful what you do. That's the best part about the team YCS is you can help your teammate that's right next to you. And like, so y'all talked about like the team order. You'd think like the stronger one goes in B. You can also put the weakest one in B if A and C are both strong, since they can both like kind of watch and help and guide the person in the middle.
Attack declaration.
There's a lot of strategy involved in the team YCS.
Looked like Jesus just asked if he was going to use Empen's declaration on attack effect.
Doing damage declaration.
Oh, damage step. What does Jesus have?
Does he play Forbidden something?
I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see what he has that he can use in the damage step in terms of a spell and trap cards. What? I thought I heard him say in the damage step, but maybe he didn't. Because, yeah, you can't do that in the damage step. He's just doing that on the attack declaration. So it's going to negate the Impen's effect, and he's going to take that damage.
Phase 2. Sit.
So he's
I'm not
got.
sure I understand why the Imperm was activated.
I mean, did he attack the Chi Chao or did he attack Chang Ying?
He attacked Monk.
Yeah, and then Renard's activating Harpy's Featherstorm. Yeah, I would have worked on maybe like clearing this. I feel like there had to have been a way, maybe, but Featherstorm is a strong card. Since he controls that Winged Beast, Jesus isn't going to be able to activate monster effects for the rest of the turn. But he already has like a pretty established board that does a lot on its own. But dealing with the Impen is difficult without monster effects. But he can just chain the Chi Chao to the Impen.
Oh, it's an attack position.
Yep, so it won't. I mean, he still can use it. I think it's just negated. But maybe they can't activate their effects.
But you can still pay cost, right?
Yeah, that's what I think.
No, it doesn't really matter. No, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just going to double check on the text of Empen.
Says you can't activate, so he won't have to pay the cost. All right, he's taking a second to look at his extra deck.
This is tough. Obviously, Featherstorm makes this moot, but in general, Swordsoul is a strategy that revolves around using non-link monsters, which means
Your turn.
you want to have a lot of these in attack mode, but you can't. You have to make these plays where they have to just be in defense mode.
And yeah, the Featherstorm just skipped his turn basically here. This is interesting. I guess Renard is like, he's done this before. He knows that if he can just buy himself a turn, get enough time to keep summoning his Floowandereeze monsters, like if he's able to use the Dreaming Town here, start getting more birds on the field, more tribute summon monsters, access to Rise of the Mega Monarch, he'd be able to turn this game around.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like sometimes when you're forced to go into only links, obviously you're never getting any of the effects, but even the option of putting these all in defense mode doesn't seem that ideal right now.
Yeah, not great.
But it can negate, right?
So you do want to use Dreaming Town right now, because now that it is in defense mode, if this turn passes back to Renard, he would be able to use that effect to negate one of the Floowandereeze normal summons. So you do want to do this now while it's shut off.
Yeah, so this is where the birds take flight. This is where they're able to fill the field. Let's see what he decides to normal summon. He has the Toucan in hand for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He can.
I feel like his teammates are stopping. Like Renard has a plan, and his teammates are holding him back a little bit right now.
It's almost as if they're discussing his ability to negate, which he no longer has the ability to do. Just because they shifted it to defense doesn't mean it's around Harpy Featherstorm.
Mm-hmm. And it looks like Stree's going to come down and take out the Ashuna.
No, that's fantastic.
Did he? He didn't use the. He didn't activate the banished one's effects yet. Luckily, he has another Floowandereeze in the hand, so he'll be able to do that. So now Eaglin coming down with the resolution of Stree's effect for another normal summon. Let's see if he goes Chainlink 1, Eaglin, Chainlink 2, Robina.
Yeah, I was seeing if activated.
Yeah, his protection effect will still work under Featherstorm, but you won't be able to use that banishing effect. It is an activated effect, even though it is continuous. Like while it's face up on the field, it still activates.
Okay.
Miss Valley Apex Avian.
Yeah, and then he did get Rubina back here. So this was the important part of doing it all while Featherstorm was live.
Yeah, and the big thing, putting the Dreaming Town in the graveyard, he's going to be able to flip those monsters face down as well if he wants. Tributes off the Eaglin and Stree for Ryza, the Mega Monarch. So the important thing is to know which targets. It can potentially target 3 things if you tribute a wind monster. The first target goes to the top of the deck. One goes to the deck, one goes to the hand, and one goes...
You have to tribute the Empen to get all 3.
Yeah, you'd have to tribute... No, just a wind, right? Does it have to be a tribute summon wind?
Wind tribute summon, yeah.
So it'd have to be the Empen. So just 2 targets. The Dreaming Town's going to put everything face down. He's going to return the Eaglin to his hand. He can put a card on top of his own deck if he wants.
Or you can return the Ryza also.
He can put the Ryza back in his hand and put a card on top of his deck, potentially. Let's see what his 2 targets are.
Target.
You have to read like each one. Like where does each target go where?
He can put the Featherstorm back on top of his deck.
Yeah, I love it when they do that with Dimension Shifter and they just keep using it over and over again. That's always a lot of fun.
So what happens?
They'll
What?
just go to the extra deck.
Yeah, I mean, no matter what, if you target like extra deck monsters, they're going to go back to the extra deck because all their things return either to the top of the deck or back into the deck.
Target if I tribute a win monster.
Looks like he shuffled Featherstorm in. Looks like they're talking to the judge really quickly here. So yeah, I bet you're all missing Snake Eye Ash about now. Just
I did not talk about it.
but there's a lot of variety of decks, and it's fun to see like this blast from the past, this burst of destiny here in round number 3.
One thing that's just interesting to note in general is the ability to banish from your opponent's graveyard can make it so that Chichan never has one in the graveyard, so you would need a worm in hand to be able to get the negation effects.
That is kind of cool. It goes back to that emergence thing. If he got emergence for Longyuan, he would have another Swordsoul card to like have fuel for that. Not that it would get there, but that kind of answers your question you had earlier about why not just go for emergence.
Only one. My target is super attack.
May have been the key here when you know you're relying on Chicha. But I don't think Jesus expected that he was playing against Floowandereeze. The second table. Yeah, I knew it had to be the Featherstorm thing. I know all Ryza has a lot of effects, but none of them shuffle back into the deck. I'm fairly certain.
Yeah.
The Featherstorm was supposed to go on top. They have a face up to signify that they are putting it back on top.
Your turn.
Okay, draw.
He's going to draw his face up RB Featherstorm. Not Parasite. Don't get it confused here. But now Renard back into play, only facing down a Monk. Being able to use that thrust for the Harpies Featherstorm was probably the key moment of this duel. I mean, anytime I play against Floowandereeze, they seem to draw hands like this. Map, Adventure, Duality, Thrust. Like, that is a solid opening there from Renard.
Even going second, it was clearly sufficient.
I mean, on the Duality, he was literally able to grab, like, a card that didn't matter. Like, the rest of his hand was just fine. So it looks like he's going to use Map, reveal Toucan from the hand, then banish the Eaglin from the deck, and now he's going to be able to normal summon the Toucan. The Toucan's going to be able to add back that Dreaming Town. I like being able to, also with Impen, if you banish the Impen, adding back the Toucan, because outside of Eaglin, you have no way to really access tribute monsters, but the Toucan being able to add it back on the banish is like a key part of being a really good like Floowandereeze player. Because even though it's like a deck that seems pretty linear, you have to know like all your ways to play and how to capitalize against some of these decks that might be perceived to be on a stronger power level.
You know what? I concede. We can go to the
Okay, thank you, Jesus. He's realizing time's winding down. There's too many. And it looks like, I assume Jesus is going to go first.
phase.
It would make sense. Swordsoul has historically been
Swordsoul emergence.
a deck that you would choose to go first with, though I think it actually is a pretty good going second deck historically. They were going second versions of this deck around a few years ago.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. That was a cool deck. Now it looks like Renard is contemplating using the Ash Blossom on the Swordsoul Emergence. I think you definitely do. Outside of Vessel, the Dragon Cycle, or Heavenly Dragon Circle, there's not going to be something else you want to Ash Blossom, but he has the Quarter Century Secret Rare Called by the Grave for the Ash Blossom. Renard can take solace in knowing that his opponent won't be using Ash Blossom next turn, but what kind of board is Jesus going to put up? Looks like he's going for the Moye. Either that means he only has one other worm, or he has the Longyuan in hand.
Yeah, no Ash Blossom is something Renard is going to be very pleased to know with this Floowandereeze strategy. That is one of the hand interactions that Advent does not get around.
Yeah, it's the key answer to Advent most of the time. And now Jesus looking to his teammate. Maybe his teammate asked him a question.
Nice. Activate.
All right, so yep, he does have the long one already. It looks like, yeah, we were right in that he is going to probably focus on, I mean, maybe he's going to focus on Baron since that's what he didn't have last time. But no, I'm trying to draw cards. I'm trying to draw a lot of cards. Let's see if he does make the Sinister Sovereign Long Yuan, or if it's going to be Baron de Fleur. It is Baron, Quarter Century Secret Rare.
One thing about the sequencing here is he had to discard the Adhara, which means he's now going to summon Moye and reveal another Worm in his hand or another Swordsoul card. He could have started with the Moye summon. He's choosing here to have Barone on the field, though, to guarantee the Moye resolves. It's just interesting because this is going to reveal another card in your hand that you wouldn't necessarily need to. So he's really valuing the level 8 here, stopping any counterplay, because if he has an Infinite Impermanence, for example, he'll now have the Barone on the field. Otherwise, his Moye could have been hit by an Infinite Impermanence, and then he wouldn't have that. He would have to discard for Longyan and have to use maybe the token with the Moye there.
Yeah, still opting to play it safe here instead of go big or go home against the Floowandereeze strategy. Not bad. He did reveal, I got to see it was the Sacred Summit, which is a card that didn't used to really see much play in Swordsoul. Maybe now, like, being able to have that other card that can special summon from the graveyard is key in dealing with some of these other decks that have cropped up over the past couple of years since the deck's release.
I always like playing a single copy, at least when the deck originally came out.
Bro, we a team.
Yo, yeah, it's not bad. Not a bad card at all. And, like, if something were to go wrong, like, there's, like, a lot of cool things you can do with it, too, with, like, you can go with, like, Taya into Boxia. Boxia kind of does the same thing by bringing back the monster, but if something goes wrong with Boxia, you can still send a Moye, bring back the Moye, do all sorts of cool things with it. But it looks like we're just going to see the Baron, the Chi-Chow, and I'm pretty sure he added Blackout there off the Chi-Chow, holding the Sacred Summon in hand. Not a great start, but he has an Effect Negate, a Spell and Trap / Effect Negate, and probably Blackout. Dark Ruler, no more. Sorry, Hades, not today. You're getting destroyed. So Chi-Chow, Baron turned off. See, this is where they would have made, he would have gotten a couple draws from the Ting Ting and Lightning Storm to follow it up. What a combination of cards. No effects you can't negate, destroying all the attack position monsters. If that's Blackout, you might as well destroy the Spell and Traps as well.
That's the lethal 1-2 combo.
And then here we go for the next one. What is it going to be? At Map? Yep, it is Map. Does he have a Floowandereeze as well? Oh, he goes Map first and then Prosperity. Oh, man. Now,
he can't be ashed.
If I'm Jesus, I'm hoping that he misses. It's just 6 non-Floowandereeze cards.
I wanted to debate and negate.
You wanted to debate and negate.
I mean, you could Solemn Judgment that.
You could, you're right. And now here comes the top 3. Okay, no birds. No birds for the first 3. No birds for the second 3. So what is he going to do? What is he going to do? Does he have access to Floowandereeze monsters? He could have had a lot there. We know that Jesus has that Sacred Summit for the follow-up, so Renard's going to want to get a strategy. But, man, yeah, every time you think of Pot of Prosperity, you're like, it's always going to show me what I need. 6 off the top after, like, a few cards out of the deck already. But no, sometimes you just miss. 2 copies of Map. Shifter, which I'm shocked is still in his deck. Maybe this just doesn't have, like, cards in the side deck.
Bad.
It's not that bad. Yeah, I guess
well, it stops the Moye
Tingy.
draw. It also stops the draw and the burn damage of Long One.
True,
So if they
true.
don't have a lot of extenders in their hand and they're forced just to kind of play with the ones that they naturally drew, it can really shut down the additional effects that you would get there. And it would also stop the follow-up. It's not
horrible.
Not horrible, no. Put it this
As
way.
long as it's a better option than something, like, you just don't have a better option to put in from your side, it makes sense to leave it in going second, because you just want to have something to use going second, right?
I would much rather have it in my Floowandereeze strategy right now. than the Sword, so
that is a true statement. Okay, just one set here from Renard. Jesus has to be feeling pretty good right now.
you don't normally say that on a turn that goes Dark Ruler no more, Lightning Storm, Pot of Prosperity.
Maybe you should have started with the Pot of Prosperity. The Prosperity will be like, oh, let's see if I can actually use these cards just yet.
Well,
but
you would have negated with Barone.
Yeah, you have to do it. You have to use all your cards right away. You could have tried to bait out the negate with the Map, though.
Maybe.
But
Map would have been good if he had a
Floowandereeze.
yeah.
Swordsoul, Sacred Summit, that can special summon back a Swordsoul monster from the graveyard. I didn't hear what he targeted, but probably Moye, because we know he has. Oh, he had a Taya. He had a Taya off the Chi-Chow last turn, so we can only assume that the face down is Blackout. But if the face down is Blackout, as soon as he gets a worm to touch down on the field, it's live again.
Which means playing the Map may be really counterproductive in the long run because it gives him that second target on the field right now.
Definitely. But the DD Crow, is that what he grabbed with the Prosperity? Can you grab a Synchro? Oh, it's still a Swordsoul monster. Yep.
Oh. So target Chichao.
Yep.
So do you want to change your target? I don't know if that's what he's meaning.
It looks like there's a communication error. It looks like he thought he was targeting Moye, but he said Chichao. So he wants to. He obviously wants to crow the target.
Yeah. Targets.
Yeah, of course. One other thing about playing the map is it opens him up to Boxia now.
Ooh, just losing that
Swordsoul
map.
has historically been one of the best decks breaking fields because of access to cards like Boxia.
And Boxia and Taya go hand in hand, as you're basically able to like swap out a card for whatever worm you send with Taya. But he's going to banish the Long Yuan to summon a token. Long Yuan being banished is cool because he'll be able to add that back later on potentially, or right now.
This second with Adhara.
So he adds Long Yuan back from the banish to his hand. Taya's going to be able to sync for the level. Let's see if it is that Boxia like you called it. I'm pretty sure it has to be. I mean, and the best thing with Taya, it's two different attributes. Taya being a wind, the token being a water. Moye into Boxia, you only get to spin back one card. Taya, though, you get two, since you have two different attributes being used for the Synchro Summon of Boxia. Brightness of the Yangzing.
And then he'll be able to use Boxia's effect afterwards to bring back the Moye in the graveyard. And then with the Long One in hand, it'll probably be sufficient.
Target.
Here it comes. He's going to target
He's going
the
to shuffle him back into your deck.
two
It doesn't
cards.
seem like he's using his Taya's effect.
All right, that's fine.
He does already have a Moye in the graveyard. Maybe he
That's
just...
what I was trying to tell
You can just put a Vishuda, some value Tenyi
you.
monster.
Shuffle, right?
That's what indeed is the case. He's going for Ashuna here.
Oh, he did activate it. Okay, I didn't hear him. You would always activate it there.
Oh, yeah. He could forget, though. Sometimes the lights, camera, action can be daunting.
Target.
So Boxia is
here we go.
going to destroy
He's gonna
the
pop
set
and he's gonna summon,
to try and summon
level 4 lower
back
monster from my graveyard into the field.
a level 4 or lower, but it's going to be level 4 in this case. We didn't get to see it, but it was the blackout.
This is when you really like the Swordsoul strategy. Whenever it gets to start using Boxia's effect like that.
Oh, yeah. Boxia is one of my favorite cards in this deck.
And now Blackout in the graveyard makes it so that when that gets banished, you'll be able to get another token. You can really start seeing when this deck gets going, all the interactions.
1, 2.
Now, Renard is going to need a Nibiru the Primal Being, or it is going to be Jover here.
Yeah.
And
now we set up the Chichao with Blackout in the graveyard, so the banish will result in a token as well.
always nice.
He's playing multiple copies of Taya.
Interesting. Hey, I don't mind. I love Swordsoul Taya. It's really strong, really good at follow-up. It makes emergence just like a one-card starter if you don't have another worm in your hand, which is always nice.
It's also good in prolonged games because it's the only one that can continually use its effect every turn. So, for example, if the game gets really whittled down to small amounts of resources, use the effect, it gets hit with infinite impermanence. If they can't deal with it,
It's still there.
Still on the field.
I've been there. I've been like, I hope I can get rid of this Taya next turn. But the Long Yuan is going to discard that second copy of Taya that was added to hand, and it's going to special summon that token to the field. Now there's that non-effect monster on the field. So he's going to be able to use that Ashuna to get another Tenyi on the field. He's going to go for Vishuda. I mean, should be moments away from finishing this game, bar Nibiru the Primal Being here from Renard. Can't do that. Can't do that. See, this is the only thing where you could make a mistake. Don't do something you can't do, because while the token is face up on the field, you can only synchro summon. See, this is where players get themselves, like, your opponent has nothing on the field. Like, you know what you have to do at this point. You have to just synchro and attack for game. But, like, they just outplay themselves. That's the only way I know how to describe, like, what it, like, I've seen this happen time and time again, where it's just overthinking is just the biggest enemy of players. Like let's just, you don't have to do the most optimal play every time, but get the game done with. But we do see the right order going here.
Enter battle.
Changing, link away from Monk, go to battle phase.
28.
But he could have easily got another warning there for an illegal activation, and it could have added up just because overthinking the situation. Always try and, like, I mean, you want to make sure you have all your bases covered, but